I think our MIAA schools, at least, are interested in conversations about big changes for the division, making membership in Division II more attractive, not just for its current members and keeping its current members happy that this is where we belong, but being attractive for schools that are going to figure out they can't operate in Division I.
Welcome into the newest edition of the MIAA Game Show with Commissioner Mike Racy. I'm Chris Roush. It's a pleasure to be back on here in the new year. A lot of new ongoing changes and developments, but the same old developments and same old things across the NCAA. We're here to talk about it all. Sir, thank you for the time as always.
Yeah, good to see you, Chris. It's feels like winter, but spring's around the corner, and that makes me happy. But yeah, we do need to catch up a little bit on things that have been happening at the NCAA level and meetings, and lots to talk about today.
Yeah, like I said, lots to talk about. We'll start with the NCAA Convention, mid-January, about every year. Some years more developments than others. As I was tracking a lot of the stuff throughout social media, it didn't seem like a lot of official stuff came out across social media throughout the convention. Your overall thoughts on this year's?
Yeah, I think that's right, Chris. You know, it's always great to get together with not just schools in Division II, but the chance to see folks from the other two divisions when we gather at the NCAA Convention. I hope that continues. There's talk about doing away with that, but for now, that's the way we do business. And this year it was in Nashville in mid-January, and it's good to see people. It's good to be with people. Everyone has lots of questions about the future of college sports, where we're going. The House settlements hanging out there over Division I, and what does that mean for everybody else? But I think people are growing frustrated. At least I am. I think a lot of people in the MIAA and other conferences are, there's lots of questions and very few answers. We continue to, seems like in the NCAA, we continue, especially in Division II, to be in this reactionary mode. Let's wait and see what happens in Division I, and then we'll figure it out in Division II. And I think the frustrating part, Chris, I think we missed an opportunity in January, just 10 days ago, when we had everybody gathered for Division II to really have some big questions in front of the membership to talk about. I think we missed that chance, and we did have issues in front of the membership, debate on issues like whether fall student athletes should be able to practice on election day or get that time off to go and vote, and then can't do anything else, or whether they can figure out how to vote and also practice and prepare for upcoming conference and NCAA championships. And that's one example of things that we talked about. But in the grand scheme, those are things that we could vote on by our computer. We need to when we got all of the membership together, we need to talk about what do we want to do with junior college student athletes? The lawsuit or the injunction that's in Division I, and allowing certain junior college athletes that maybe have not exhausted their competition eligibility to have a season back. Well, how do we feel about Division II? How do we feel about that in Division II? Let's talk about that while we got everyone together. We didn't do that. We didn't use that opportunity to at least have some conversations. So, the NCAA is saying that, there's a survey that at least for Division II, we're going to have a chance to fill that survey out and to provide some feedback. And and information, but it continues to feel like we're not willing to go on offense, Chris. And I think we should. I think in Division II, the opportunity that we're missing is to really help shape the division in a way that is unique and special about a collection of schools in a division that has a common bond in believing in the educational benefits of an intercollegiate athletics experience. Let's start there with that principle, and that's what we want for our student athletes. And how do we build an even bigger and better division around that? And I think we can. I think we can do that right now. I think we can go on offense. I think we can find some legal safe harbors that the division can operate in. That's not going to interfere with what Division I is dealing with, and we can make some positive changes now instead of waiting and reacting to whatever Division I comes up with.
And along those lines, I'll ask you a question here in a second about your thoughts on what you want to see when you fill out the survey. But we've talked a lot about not going on the offensive, kind of being reactionary. And this is outside perspective, 10,000 feet. But at the same time, is it a reactionary to the point of we don't want to make the wrong move? Because to me, it's like we don't know where this is heading anyway. So is there necessarily a wrong move to make? Division I, yeah, I'm sure there is several wrong moves that could be made because of the amount of money being poured in. But Division II, is there really that same ramification wrong move that's holding people back from being more on the offensive and more progressive in that sense?
Well, I think all of the concerns that are holding us back are at its core concerns about doing things that are going to cause the association, meaning the NCAA, to have legal concerns, legal challenges, legal risks that certainly the association wants to avoid. Never before in the NCAA's history has it been more concerned about risk and legal exposure, and looking for ways to avoid that at all costs. As an attorney, I understand that, but I also understand the idea of being paralyzed and unwilling to at least have conversations and talk about what things we need to be considering. And I do believe there are some safe harbors and some things that we could look at. I'm glad the NCAA for Division II is doing a survey and asking these questions. I've filled the survey out, and a lot of the survey, it's a pretty lengthy survey, takes about 30 minutes. It asks for a lot of feedback on, championships and governance and student athlete involvement and, the philosophy of the division. And, but, those are all important things, but it's business as usual. There aren't big changes that we're talking about. And I think our MIAA schools, at least, are interested in conversations about big changes for the division, making membership in Division II more attractive, not just for its current members and keeping its current members happy that this is where we belong, but being attractive for schools that are going to figure out they can't operate in Division I.
Right.
Division I is changing. Division I is becoming a professional model or a quasi-professional model. How do schools in that division that want to maintain an educational purpose and mission for intercollegiate athletics, where do they go? And I think there are opportunities for us to make Division II even more attractive, to begin doing that right now, to give Division I schools something that they could look at and counter it with what they're being asked to spend and do in Division I. But I'll give you an example. A safe harbor, we should be spending our time talking about a different name for our division. We can do that on our own. We don't need, tongue in cheek here, Chris, but if we can change the the name of the Gulf of Mexico, we can
Yeah,
we
we
can
just need to
change
do
the
that.
name of Division Two, right?
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I think we need to talk about that. I think there's a better name for our division. I don't know what it is. Maybe maybe we rebrand our division as the Elite Division. We are the Elite Division in the NCAA. Let people argue whether or not we're the Elite Division, but we feel like we are. We are
Right.
the Elite Division in providing the type of balanced, holistic student experience that I think that the NCAA was built on, founded on. Let's champion that. Let's pound our chest and say we are, we are the Elite Division. I'd advocate that as we do that, we find more ways to celebrate our champions within that division, and so I would advocate that we would have subdivisions within the Elite Division for every sport. Football, basketball, baseball, softball, soccer, um, and let schools decide where they want to invest. We have a very diverse division, the
Hmm.
most diverse division in all of the NCAA. Um, Large public to small private, and everything in between, and all sorts of levels of financial commitment, all sorts of reasons why intercollegiate athletics exists, and let's figure out a place that would appropriately divide the division, not to push people out, but to add more schools in to our division that would let us have an elite division football champion for this scholarship level, an elite division uh, football champion for this level,
Right.
and put people in a room and figure that out. I think that makes us that makes our championships more appealing. It allows the division to maybe do some things different, how they bracket, how they select for these different levels. So I think that's something else that we could do that would help promote and shine a light on our division's diversity of institutions, and maybe make it more attractive for other schools to say that they would want to be part of uh, the elite division, or whatever the name is.
You may have just hit on it there in your answer, but when you were filling out the survey, was there a number one thing that really stood out to you on your focus of filling out the NCAA survey, or was it a couple different things, whether it's championships, governance, or what really was that big, strong focal point for you when you filled that out?
Well, some of these things weren't addressed, so I added them under the other general comments. But I
You took
think
the time to do the additional comments part of a survey.
I did. I focused on that, but I do. I think it's important for us to go on offense, to think about a different name, to enhance championship opportunities, and I'm going as far as saying that maybe in a lot of sports, two championships for the number of schools that we have and the diversity that we have. Um, and the one thing in the survey that I was able to address that plays right into this, Chris, is to do that we would need more of an allocation of our budget to championships. You and I have talked before. We're only spending 60% of the division's allocation on championship expenses right now. I think it should be more than that. I think a lot of the programming and things that's coming from the national office should be left at the conference level or the institutional level. That's where focus on professional development and other things needs to exist. It doesn't mean that the NCAA can't still be a part of that, but the way that the division is spending its money, I think is better directed toward championships. I also, one idea I shared in the survey was as it relates to recruiting, making Division two, or whatever we call it, as part of going on offense, let's do some things to make our coaches make their jobs easier when they're out there talking to junior college or NAIA students. Let's make our division the destination, the place that they want to go play. Well, how do we do that? Well, one idea is that we make 2-year college or NAIA competition in your first year, treat it just like a prep school. Treat it just as a way for that student to become acclimated in higher ed, in college, prepare them for how to be a student. And as long as they transfer 20 hours of degree credit from that 2-year college or that NAIA school, they would still have 4 years of eligibility at the NCAA Division II level, again, or whatever we call it,
Right.
and make an alliance with NAIA JUCO that their student athletes should be preparing for the type of experience that they'd receive at one of our institutions. And takes 120 hours to graduate at most of our schools. A lot of our students have trouble doing that in 4 years. I think on average for all students, it's closer to 6 years than it is to 4. So let's let that 2-year college or NAIA experience serve as a preparatory year and not count against the seasons of eligibility or the seasons of competition you have at our level. And I'd also say from an NIL perspective, Chris, I put this in a survey that more and more of our states are allowing institutions to become directly involved in providing an NIL or facilitating that. And I think we need to spend some time as a division contemplating whether or not that should count towards a program's equivalency limit. We wouldn't necessarily charge that against the student's personal equivalency limit, but should it count against the 36 scholarships total that you're able to have in football?
Right.
Obviously, if it's a third-party NIL or an NIL that's coming from a collective, that's outside of the institution, and you would treat that as a traditional type of outside payment, outside grant, outside scholarship. But when the institution's involved, let's say a linebacker for the football team, we're going to package your aid by including a $5,000 name, image, likeness payment. And what you're going to need to do for that is you're going to have to do 2 ads each semester for the business school, talking about your experience and why you chose to come here, and that's the way that you're going to help satisfy that payment. But if the institution is truly facilitating it, it really should count as that institutional aid that's limited by the total number of scholarships that you're able to provide in that particular sport. I don't know how I'd feel about that if it came to a vote on the floor, but we should be at least exploring it and talking about that. So, these are the things that I think help better position, better market, better brand the division than it has been historically, and we should be busy having those conversations and not sitting back and waiting for Division I to figure out whatever it is that Division I looks like, how it operates, and what does that mean for the rest of their schools that don't feel like they really belong in Division I anymore.
A lot to unpack still for Division II, Division I, and just across the NCAA. And I'm sure, like always, we'll continue to have conversations about it as it evolves. Or I don't know the word for evolve at this point. Who knows what's going to be. But there was other meetings also at the NCAA Convention I want to ask you a couple questions about. MIAA Meetings had some meetings out there, I believe. What was able to get done there? Because it's not very often that the presidents and ads all get together in person. Now with Zoom and a lot of other stuff, or you can have conference calls and stuff, but not very often you can get everybody or most everybody in the same room, right?
Yeah, and that's one thing that I'm proud that the MIAA, we still take advantage of the annual convention to have our presidents have one of their regular meetings. They meet twice in person every year, once in the summer and then once at the NCAA convention. And we had more than 2/3 of our presidents were in attendance. I think we had 10 of our 14 presidents were able to attend, and we had good meetings. We continue our discussion and talk about membership, Chris, and some of the things that I just outlined of how we're wanting the MIAA to be prepared for whatever the next version of college sports looks like, and where we fit in, and what we can be a part of, what schools belong and want to be a part of what we're doing. And so we continue to have those discussions, and we're hoping maybe a little clearer strategy around that when we get back together in June. We're working with a consultant. Jeff Schimmel is helping us with some of these membership scenarios and analyzing some of the data points that we've asked them to look at. So that was important. We also, Chris, we looked at some RFPs from communities that are interested in our basketball tournament. We've been in Kansas City for 22 straight years, 1 year off for the COVID year. And we've enjoyed a great relationship with the city. We feel like we play in one of the best college basketball venues in the country, in historic Municipal Auditorium, still the country's leading facility, and all-time NCAA Final Fours hosted. We get to play there every March. It's a treat to be downtown Kansas City and to kick off March Madness. But we only have 2 years left on our current contract, right, this year and next spring. So we did this past summer. We did do an RFP. Kansas City obviously came back and said they're very interested. We also got RFPs from Topeka and St. Joe, and the presidents had really good discussions about all of those proposals. And we're not there yet. We're close to an announcement. Hope to have that for you on our next meeting, but we want to make sure we announce that and make that decision before we're playing here in a few weeks at the MIAA basketball tournament. So those were good meetings. And then, Chris, we also had a chance. We've talked before about this group that the MIAA is involved with, the Division II Football Alliance.
Yep.
And we had some more discussions around the sport of football. We did this Wednesday night at the convention. We had about 50 people in attendance at this meeting, which was our biggest football alliance meeting we've ever had. And this, as a reminder, Chris, this is a group of ADs and commissioners and presidents that get together and are able to talk about football. There's really no group like that in the NCAA. And so this is the opportunity to get those positions around a table from 7 or 8 different conferences. And we had good discussion about kind of where we're at in football and where football seems to be going in Division II.
I'll just piggyback off of that part there. One of the announcements that did come out, I saw on social media, was the automatic qualifiers for football in all conferences that have football in Division II, which would be 16. People know there's only 28 spots in the playoffs, which means only 12 at-large bids in Division II football. And you and I have talked about the issues with Division II football playoffs. This doesn't seem to be going in the direction that's encouraging expansion, at least right now, with 16 automatic qualifiers and then 12 at-large bids.
Yeah, that was a vote at the convention that was very frustrating. That AQ proposal to give AQ in football, even though the the number of sponsoring conferences was was more than 50% of the bracket, 16 out of 28. That seems to be kind of a fundamental principle in Division II, that you're not going to have the AQ, the number of AQ or automatic qualifier spots in a bracket, more than 50% of that bracket. That's the way it's always been. I think they've changed it recently to 60%, but it doesn't make sense in a sport with a small bracket like football. So our position in the MIAA, and it's shared by other conferences, is that let's not talk about AQ until we get to 32, and let's really push for expanding the bracket, add 4 more teams, 4 more deserving at-large teams into the football playoffs, and then we can talk about AQ. We're getting rid of a provision that served Division II well for almost 30 years, Chris, and that's the idea of earned access. It's been around since the late 1990s. It was put in place at the time. There was no AQ in any football championship, any division, and Division II put that in place, earned access in football, as a way to recognize there's a small bracket, but if conferences want to demonstrate by having their schools go out and schedule a strong non-conference schedule, demonstrate that they are competitive in the region. They've earned, the conference as a conference has earned its way into the playoffs because of its scheduling practices and wanting to play other good teams. Then they've earned their way in. They've earned a right to have one of their teams into the playoffs, and that served us well. And we've undone all of that work, and we've got rid of that provision, and now we've got AQ. And I don't think it's the best for Division II football. I'm hopeful that there's still bracket expansion that could follow this, hopefully quickly. But we were disappointed in that vote outcome. It passed, I think, with 60% of the membership in favor and 40% against.
And the key part there is non-football schools. They voted on that too, right? Or just football schools only?
No, it was only football for that vote. Yeah, it was only football for that vote. But I think it highlights, what I was talking about earlier, Chris, is the diversity of the division. And it's getting more diverse. It's getting, the division and its membership continues to change. And, I'm afraid when change like that happens, and the division changes, it forces some schools to consider whether or not they still belong. And I don't want that to happen. I think we can go on offense. We can help improve Division II for everybody, make it stronger and better than it's ever been. And again, not waiting to see what Division I does, but find some places we can operate, make some big changes, be progressive. That's like I said, bigger and better than it's ever been, and to market that in a way that we haven't done before.
MIAA Commissioner Mike Racy, thank you for the time. I think the word of the day was offensive, which was also fitting for the Chiefs scoring more than 30 points in their AFC Championship game, right? Seems fitting. Very fitting.
We need to run this division, this membership division, and to take a page out of Patrick Mahomes' book to get busy and not sit back and wait, but to be proactive and take it to the defense.
Not running the same quarterback sneak on 3 4th downs in a row. So
there you go.
Too soon for Bills fans to hear that one, but oh well.
That's the key.
Commissioner Mike Racy, thank you for the time as always. Much appreciated.
Anytime. Thanks, Chris.